In this video we're going to look at another law of indices, when you have a bracket raised to another power. So here we have a bracket and inside it a to the power 3, and we've raised that whole bracket to the power 4. To answer a question like this, you need to remember what it means to raise something to the power 4. It means that thing times by itself 4 times. So we're going to do a cubed times by itself, and then times by itself a third time, and then times by itself a fourth time. Now, using the multiplication law, we know that we need to add these indices together. So 3 add 3 add 3 add 3 is 12. So we end up with a to the power 12. Now that result could have been achieved by simply multiplying 3 times 4, and we would get a to the power 12. And that works every single time. So 4 times 3 gives you 12. You don't need to write this out every time. So let's look at another example and do it quickly. This is simply b to the power 6, because 2 times 3 is 6, and this one is simply c to the negative 24, because 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. Now here's a slightly harder example, but the same logic applies, and I'll show you it in full. So we need to do 3d to the 5 multiplied by itself 3 times, because of this cubed up here. So 3d to the 5 times 3d to the 5 times 3d to the 5. So we have the multiplication law again for indices, so we end up doing 5 add 5 add 5, so we get d to the 15, which is what we expected, because 5 times 3 is 15, and then 3 times 3 times 3, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 27, so that's just like 3 cubed. So when you have a question like this and there's a 3 in the bracket, it's important to remember that you don't simply multiply 3 by 3 and get 9, for instance. A common wrong answer to this question would be 9d to the 15, but you actually raise that 3 to the power 3 as well. So it's 3 cubed, which is 27, and this is our answer. Okay, here are some questions for you to try. Press pause and have a go at those, and then press play and I'll take you through the answers. Okay, here are the answers for this first one. We multiply the powers. 4 times 3 is 12. And in this next one, y, 6 times 2 is also 12. This one here, we multiply negative 2 by 10, which gives negative 20. And this one, 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. And this one here, we end up with negative 5 times negative 8, which gives you a positive 40, remembering that two negatives multiplied together gives you a positive answer. And then here are some tricky ones for you. 2 squared is 4, so we do 2 to the power 2, and then multiply the powers on this, so we get y to the power 6. This one here, 2 cubed, is 8, and then multiply the powers, so 3 times 5 is 15. And on this final one, 3 cubed, a bit like our example, 27, and then b to the power negative 9, because 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. That concludes your video on bracket to the power law.